Hey everyone, it's Megan here from Meghan Makes Do, and welcome to week 3 of the Bowden Cardigan Crochet Along. So this week is sleeve week, and I promise no one's getting left behind on Sleeve Island. These sleeves work up surprisingly fast, same as the front panels. I got my sleeves done. I think I did one each day, and boom, they were done. They're super simple. I think the thing that makes them so fast is there are only 2 bows on each sleeve. And again, just like the front panels, they are stacked on top of each other. So you only have 2 skeins of yarn to worry about at one time for floating all of your colors behind and doing your color work. So you'll notice that the sleeves are slightly tapered. You can see that they're smaller, less wide at the bottom, and they get wider as you get up to the upper arm section. So once they are all seamed together and on, it's going to look like this, and your bows are going to be kind of like on the main part of your arm. So once we have the sleeve in place, it'll look like this, and you can easily adjust the length of your sleeves. Like, let's say that your arms are a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, just by decreasing the number of rows up here at the top. So sleeves are broken up by size. This is the first time that we're going to really be breaking up the sizes. So you'll notice that the extra small size is on its own. Small, medium, and large are written together. Extra large, 2X, 3X, and 4X are written together, and then the 5X size is written separately as well. So the sleeves is probably the longest section of the pattern. I'm going to walk you through and show you what that looks like in the pattern and how to follow along for your size. I've also included graphs. Now the graph is only going to show you one side of the sleeve, but it's basically you're going to work this way and then just kind of repeat going back the other way across the graph. It'll make sense when I turn the camera on and show you. But this week we're making both sleeves, and then we'll be ready to seam everything together because these are the last pieces of the separate panels for cardigan. So let's go ahead and turn the camera on and we will get started on our sleeves. All right, so we're on week 3 and we are ready to start working up our sleeves. So as I pointed out, the biggest difference between the sleeves and the other panels is that we do have some shaping. So the sleeves are slightly tapered, so they're going to be smaller at the bottom, and then we're going to work increases along the edges at different rates depending on what size you are making. And we're going to work that all the way up until we get to the widest point at the top where it'll attach to the main body of the cardigan. So there's only 2 bows on each sleeve, so it makes it pretty simple. You won't have as many balls of yarn to work with. Same as with the front panels, we're only going to be working with 2 colors at a time since we do carry the color A throughout, but we are going to have floats of both colors along the back here. So the instructions for like making and creating the bows are the same. The difference here is that, of course, same as the front panels, your stitch counts on either side of the bows are going to be different depending on what size you're making, and your rate of increasing is going to be different as well. So let's take a look at what that will look like. Again, with the written pattern, we have our sleeve instructions here. We're always going to start with that ribbing and then work into the top edge of the ribbing. Now, do be aware that for some sizes, your first row, you're going to either be increasing or just leaving working straight. So just pay attention to make sure, get your highlighter out and highlight everything you need for your size. So after the ribbing instructions, this is where the instructions split off. So right here we have extra small only. So our first few sets of instructions are only for extra small. So the whole next page and into the page after. Then on page 10, we start with the instructions for small, medium, large, and this is where you'll want to go through and highlight. And you can see here that small and medium rows 1 is different than large's row 1. But after that, you'll follow along with all the rows for those 3 sizes, just making sure that you highlight. So if you're making the medium, you want to be highlighting that center number in all of the rows on both the beginning and the end. And you'll see that where you're increasing is either going to be, it's going to be always at the beginning and the end of a row. It's going to be indicated by saying increase. The increase stitches are not included in these first stitch counts here, but you're always going to increase with color A. And to increase, you just work 2 single crochet front loop only into that first stitch. So fairly simple, and you'll see that each size that's divided up is increasing at a different rate, and that's reflected especially when you look at the graphs. So you can see here our rate of increase for the extra small versus our rate of increasing for small, medium, large. You'll also notice that towards the end of the pattern for these panels, some of the sizes, so small and medium, your last increase is here, but for size large, you have an additional increase before you work your straight rows. So just keep that in mind and make sure you're paying attention to that when you get to the end. Same here for sizes extra large through 4X. You'll notice that there's a little note here that for 3X, you're going to follow the 2X until row 55. So that means we're following this red color all the way up for our increases for both sizes 2X and 3X together. But once they split after row 55, the 3X has 2 additional increases that the 3X has 2 additional increases that the 2X doesn't have. But you can see that we're increasing a bit quicker here, since with a drop shoulder cardigan, typically the sleeves on the larger sizes have less rows than the other sizes since it comes farther down your arm. And then of course 5X is written out and listed all by itself, and that rate of increase is a lot higher than the other sleeves. So just make sure that you're referencing the graphs. If you have any questions that come up in the pattern, please let me know. Again, I do recommend going through and highlighting the numbers associated with your size throughout the whole pattern, and just make sure that you're finding your size under the sleeve instructions. I did put at the top here so you can see what is covered on that page. So for like the larger sizes, you can just skip these pages until you see your size included in that instruction set. And here you can see how small and medium instructions are here for the end, large instructions are here for the end. And you'll find that throughout with these grouped ones too, the extra large through 4X. But I think they're relatively easy. If you have, if you've done a tapered sleeve before, you kind of know what to do. It's relatively simple, but you'll make 2 identical sleeves, and then after this week, we'll have all of our panels ready for assembling our cardigans. So we're moving right along. It's coming up pretty fast. We'll soon be wearing our beautiful bow cardigans. So enjoy this week, have fun while you do it, and don't forget to check out the Meghan Makes Crew Facebook page so you can enter all of the giveaways.